to Streaming Into the Void, where we discuss the streaming news for the week ending June 14th, 2026. I'm Kim Hollis, digital marketing expert, who had a surprise CT scan on Tuesday. How was your week?
Oh, no.
Those usually aren't good. That's not a good surprise. I'm disappointed.
I know. With me is Tim Brighty, content creator and gamer who has World Cup fever.
Hold on. World Cup. That's soccer, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Okay.
As Sports Night once said, and the sheer pointlessness of a nothing tie.
Yeah. Also, David Mumpower, author of Disney Demystified and streaming media analyst, who has a 29-point lead in the third quarter and is feeling good about his chances.
I'm going to win. There is no doubt about it.
And the podcast is produced and edited by Raul Burriel, who's totally stoked.
Yep, we're recording on Friday this week because tomorrow I get to get up at 6 a.m. My call time is 7 a.m. My professional career culminates every year with our commencement ceremony. Go Beavs!
This week, the United States Department of Justice approved Paramount Skydance's acquisition of Warner Brothers Discovery with no conditions, bringing us into a new phase of this merger drama.
You know, like 2 hours ago, we were like, do we have anything to talk about this week?
I know.
We're recording on Friday night, and, well, as part of the Friday evening news dump, which is a thing in journalism, the Department of Justice snuck in the fact that, hey, they were A-OK with this deal that everyone knows is a sham. And this is what we've been saying all along. Last week, we just mentioned the fact that I thought the odds of this deal collapsing were at 20%. Kim thought the odds were at 40%, and yet both of us would have told you we would have bet our life savings on the Department of Justice approving the deal. That does not mean this deal is going to finalize. It probably means that. I think that we all agree now that it would be like blowing a 29-point lead in the third quarter for them not to finalize this deal. But we already know that several people are planning lawsuits, one of which Raul will discuss has already been filed. So things are going to happen here, and we've seen a recent precedent with Tegna and Nexstar where that deal was finalized by the same people and has since been stopped by a court. We also know that Europe is looking hard at this. Raul's going to add some dates about that, some very interesting dates. So we're looking at the board and we're saying, well, the Department of Justice did exactly what we expected them to and tried to sneak this in darkness when no one was watching, as if everything was A-OK with this deal, which includes 49% ownership from countries that should not own any piece of a large, important American business. So none of this surprises us, but the timing of it, well, it's amusing, it's fascinating, and it is, let's be honest, duplicitous. So here we are.
If nothing else, they're sticking to the script. Anyone who's listened to this podcast for the last several weeks knows all the beats, knows what's supposed to happen. And this is one of the things that was supposed to happen. This is one of the big things that was supposed to happen, but it then also triggers other things. For instance, we told you about last week how it seems certain that attorneys general from several states, it sounds like up to 10 or even more states, may sue to block the deal. And arguably, it's better to sue before the deal is completed than after, as David has pointed out, because of the Nexstar Tegna example. It's really hard to unwind a deal. But the truth is that the lawsuit to block Nexstar Tegna happened basically the day after it was approved. So it's not like you're going to say that, oh no, we already merged all our offices and all our equipment and all our mechanisms. That deal had largely not yet been consummated. And indeed, there is almost certainly now going to be a lawsuit from attorneys general across several different states arguing that the Department of Justice did not do their due diligence and that there is cause.
What? How dare you?
Absolutely this. Yes, I am saying that. And that there is cause to block this merger or to at least put some conditions on this merger, such as perhaps forcing the company to spin off CNN because this new company is showing that it is not independent in its reporting, as has been seen, again, as David told us last week, with CBS and 60 Minutes. That is, in fact, a large reason for why some consumers filed their own lawsuit to block the merger last week. Now, Paramount Skydance is saying that those consumers don't have standing and that anyway, that is all speculative and that you can't sue on the potential that maybe we're going to be biased. But that is arguably exactly why you should sue, if only because then the courts can impose certain restrictions on the company to tell them that you can proceed with the merger, but you can't do certain things, as was done, for instance, when Ticketmaster and Live Nation were merged, and they were told that you definitely absolutely should not be doing all these kinds of antitrust monopolistic shenanigans. And that is unfortunately exactly the things they did, which then led to another lawsuit against that company. Yeah, mergers by and large are not a good thing, especially as the merged company then tries to leverage its anti-competitive behavior, which is one of the reasons why overseas in the UK, the British Competition and Markets Authority is looking very hard at this merger. It knows that by merging Warner Brothers and Paramount, competition is going to be reduced, and that may be cause for them to say that they will not approve this merger. The EU is also reviewing this merger and may want to have a word or two about whether or not this merger should go ahead. And to David's point, the British Competition and Markets Authority is taking comments on that merger, and the deadline for those comments is not until August 7th. So for anyone at Paramount Skydance who thought that they'd be closing this merger by the end of July, I'm sorry, boys, that's not going to happen.
Well, we never say never at this point, because we've already seen that, some government officials have a rubber stamp and they're not afraid to use it. We're not going to be dismissive or glib about the situation. This was a huge hurdle that was just cleared by Paramount in trying to acquire this. And the Department of Justice, for its part, defended the transaction by saying that in their estimation, quote, it is not likely to result in harm to competition or American consumers. That is definitely a take. We cannot argue with the fact that the Antitrust Division has looked at the deal, because they say in their entirety, quote, the legacy of these transactions illustrates the challenges that arise when the commercial rationale for a deal lacks clear alignment with competitive incentives of the acquiring firm or the competitive evolution of the marketplace. In technology-driven industries, the disruptors of the recent past may quickly become the entrenched monopolist of the present day. And that is a long way to go to say this business is ever changing. This is going to be a big change. We're not stopping it because we want it to happen. That's where we're at with this. That's where we've been at with this, where there was always a home court advantage for Skydance Paramount in these negotiations. Netflix knew it, and that's why they didn't bid again, even though they could have easily topped the offer of $111 billion, which is theoretically the winning bid. But let's be honest, it was only a marginal improvement and shouldn't have won. Here we are. The deck has been stacked from the beginning, and we're just reaching the end game of it.
So, Tim, this week we have another box office story, but maybe it's not as happy of a box office story as what we've been reporting the last few weeks.
Yeah, so, obviously the crazy success of Obsession and Backrooms has been good times. Even Scary Movie was your top movie last weekend with 54 million. I did not expect that, to be honest. But anyway, this weekend we have Disclosure Day. It is, of course, a Steven Spielberg film. I remember getting the trailer for this before Project Hail Mary, and I was very intrigued, but it was also really lacking on details. And I feel like that probably led people to be like, I'm not that interested in this because I don't really know what the heck is going on. And I feel like in the last minute this week, they put out a trailer where Steven Spielberg's in it, basically talking about the movie. Just
my God.
Here's what it's about. And I
saw this one.
Yeah, and I'm like, that doesn't bode well for its box office prospects.
We are selling a mystery, and the answer to the mystery is
yes. I mean, you can sort of piece together it from the title and the trailer, but then they're literally like just spelling it out in this last one. So we are recording on Friday, so we only have a Thursday preview number, which is 6.5 million, which does not really bode well for the weekend. It's headed to like the mid 40s maybe, and that feels like very optimistic at this point, to be honest.
Yeah, they've been rolling Steven Spielberg out in places you would not expect. He's appeared on podcasts and numerous YouTube interview shows that we would not have seen him in the past. They are trying very hard to make this a success. But the truth is that Spielberg hasn't had a big hit for years. He makes two kinds of movies, one of which is your big general audience's blockbuster, and the other type is awards bait. His last awards bait movie was what? The Fablemans, and that didn't really land successfully. And in terms of his general audience blockbusters, well, they haven't really been blockbusters for a while. Unless our protagonist is a shark or a guy with a bullwhip, people aren't watching Steven Spielberg movies anymore. And unfortunately, I feel like Disclosure Day is just going to be another miss for him.
I feel like you just insulted Ready Player One, which is going to be very upsetting to David.
Leave Ready Player One alone. So I feel like what we're witnessing here is a larger topic than just this individual film, because something we haven't discussed yet, The Mandalorian and Grogu basically died at the box office last weekend. It will report results this weekend. There will be numbers added to the total. But right now, it's going to struggle to do significantly above twice its budget, which means it's probably not going to exit theaters in the black. That is a Star Wars film. Now we are talking about Steven Spielberg, one of the most iconic directors in the history of this business. And Disclosure Day does not seem to be striking a chord with potential consumers, so much so that, as Tim said, they had to explain it because people didn't want that mystery. And that is fascinating when you think about what just happened with Backrooms, where it was selling a mystery and it sold it so well that the film has absolutely decimated the box office. We are seeing an old guard in Hollywood that doesn't seem to know exactly how to make a movie that a new generation of people wants to watch. And then we're seeing a new guard, coincidentally or not, of people of that age who have mastered the art of selling exactly something someone of their same age would want to buy. And that is, frankly, historically, we haven't seen it since really the MTV days of the 1980s. This is rare in our business where you find people speaking to only their people and doing it effectively. And the fact is, the older moviegoers used to be the ones who supported projects like this, like Disclosure Day. It doesn't seem to have worked. But those same people came out in force for Project Hail Mary, which tells you just how much of this is confusing even when we start looking at the outcomes, because it seems like the explanations we're using directly conflict with some of the instances. There isn't a hard and fast rule other than, make a really good movie, but Disclosure Day is 81% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. It seems like it is a good movie. All of this over the past month is fascinating to watch. I mean, fascinating, because it seems like when in sports you see a team that has been a world champion suddenly plays a young, hungry, up-and-coming team, and that other team looks slow and past their prime. What we're witnessing right now with Obsession and Backrooms feels like a complete changing of the guard. And interestingly enough, Lord and Miller, who've been doing this for 20 years now, seem to be still on the side of the younger group, which I find fascinating.
Yeah, we need to point out, I think we mentioned it last weekend, but as of this past Tuesday, Obsession passed The Mandalorian and Grogu in terms of domestic box office. And as of Thursday, Backrooms is about 12 million behind. That one's going to be super close. And if you had a month ago said, oh, by the way, both of these movies are going to make more than the Baby Yoda movie, you may have been fitted for a straitjacket.
Disney might have sued you. I mean, it was that absurd.
That is just, selling stuff to the right audience. I hate to bring out the term, but, Gen Z, they're showing you how you do it.
When we're talking about this, we need to be honest about the fact that while The Mandalorian and Grogu will make money because it has a different monetization plan, Disney will still make the money from the theme parks and from the merchandise. This project is ultimately a failure at the box office, and Star Wars projects should never fail at the box office. It just seems like Disney with Marvel and Star Wars has lost the target audience that has historically supported their films, and we may be witnessing the same thing with Steven Spielberg right now.
All right, Tim. Well, is the news and the ratings any better or different?
Kinda. Let's take a look at what we have here. It is the Nielsen streaming ratings for Monday, May 11th to Sunday, May 17th, 2026. And your top original program for the week is not The Boys. It is The Roast of Kevin Hart, coming in with 1.3 billion minutes. Oh my gosh. Live on May 10th. We've seen this before with the Tom Brady roast. That one absolutely crushed on the ratings when it happened a couple years ago. So I guess we shouldn't be that surprised. This was kind of the culmination of Netflix's most recent LA Netflix is a Joke comedy thing. We saw the competition series had made the ratings last week. That's not on the list this week. Not a surprise. But that's a very solid number for the live event that only had a couple days in these ratings. What'll happen with the full week? I presume it will drop off quickly. But the Tom Brady one kind of took off, but I haven't really heard much about this one after it had happened. Next week should go to the show in number 2, because there's one episode to go in The Boys. 1 billion minutes for its 39 episodes. The finale of that one arrived on May 20th, so it'll be reflected in next week's ratings, and I absolutely expect it to be the top original show. New in third, Nemesis, 832 million minutes for 8 episodes from Netflix, of course. Premiered on May 14th, and we talked about it on What's New. I didn't really remember it just from its, generic one-word title. It is a crime drama, but we did mention it during that week. Worst X Ever, we saw that last week. In 4, 749 million minutes for 8 episodes for the second season of the true crime series, unfortunately. But something new in 5th, Dutton Ranch, 725 million minutes from Paramount Plus for just 2 episodes. Yes, the latest, and by my calculations, the 19th Yellowstone spinoff premiered on May 15th with the 2 episodes. It is weekly from here through the start of July. Based on this start, I'd expect it to hang on the entire time.
I got a call this week from my elderly mother. She only wanted to know on what day new episodes aired because she's gotten addicted to Dutton Ranch and she cannot stand that she can't binge it.
Yes, you will subscribe to Paramount Plus and you will like it. Though apparently this is also being broadcast on the Paramount Network, because what the hell else are they going to show at this point? This does have 2 characters from Yellowstone, played by Kelly Riley and Cole Hauser, reprising their roles. So not a surprise that it immediately took off. And again, it should stick around for the next month and a half of these ratings. Also new in 6th, Off Campus, 516 million minutes for 8 episodes from Prime Video. Premiering on May 13th, all at once, of course. It is a romantic drama series based on a book series. I think they're trying to recapture the Summer I Turned Pretty thing, probably. So I'd expect this one to take a bump for the full week. We'll still see that one next week as well.
It's definitely got a heated rivalry influence on it, as it's a hockey romance, although this time it's straight.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, there's one for the straights at last. Okay. There you go. Ms. Rachel up to 7, 278 million minutes for her 8 episodes. Peacock's MIA hangs on for another week, 366 million minutes for her 9 episodes. The Pit also surviving, 358 million minutes for its 30 episodes and 2 seasons. And once again, we have an Apple TV Plus show, and it is the return of Your Friends and Neighbors, 339 million minutes for 16 episodes. I had thought this was because it had finished its second season, but no, we're still in mid-season. It actually has 3 more to go in its season at this point. It came back a couple weeks ago when the second season premiered, and then it pokes its head into the top 10 again. So that's pretty impressive. So I wonder if we'll see it another time, or maybe not until its finale. But that kind of means it's been in that maybe 11 to 15 range this whole time, and that's actually good to see for an Apple TV Plus show. Over on movies, which has been kind of pathetic, and well, at least the top half's okay this time. It is led by Goat, 1 billion minutes. I forgot this was a theatrical release earlier this year. It only opened in February to like 40 million or something like that. But yeah, no, here it is on Netflix as of May 14th. So just the weekend number, 1 billion. So I'd expect that one to do really well for the full week with this start. I was like, wait, another Netflix original? No, this one was in theaters. Remarkably Bright Creatures was second last week. It's also second this week. 871 million minutes for its full week. Pretty good. Swapped. I have to question the claims of Netflix that this one somehow outdid K-pop Demon Hunters, which also, by the way, not on the movies chart this week. It's in third, 514 million minutes. I mean, I know Nielsen doesn't count second screen viewing and all that, and Netflix knows exactly how much this one was watched as opposed to the other one, but I have my doubts. New in fourth is The Crash, 475 million minutes. And yeah, this is a documentary about a tragic accident that was true crime-ish, so turned into a documentary, of course, / unfortunately, after premiering on May 15th. So not a surprise that this one's here as well. So Mother's Day was on the list last week. It's still here this week. 305 million minutes in fifth. Like, come on, people. What the heck? But Sun Help from Hulu is in sixth, 261 million minutes. So not a great performance after premiering with a mediocre number last week, but the bottom half of this chart is not great, so that's why it's still here. And that's also why we're seeing Greenland 2 Migration, 207 million minutes on HBO Max. This was also a theatrical release back in January. And it's our favorite category of things that show up on the movie list, things that were on Lifetime and on Hulu and then now are on Netflix, and that is Stolen Baby, The Murder of Heidi Broussard, as of May 15th, 195 million minutes. I'm judging every single person that ever watched this. Home, the animated movie from 2015, 176 million minutes, was actually returning to Netflix on May 1st, and that is not the first time it has returned to Netflix, because I think this has shown up before. We wrap up movies with something happy. Marty, Life is Short, 175 million minutes from Netflix. That is, of course, the Martin Short documentary. So good to see that. I'm glad that one made the list. Acquired is, I'm going to call it 9 shows we've seen before, led once again by La Brea, 1 billion minutes for La Brea Summer, 30 episodes, Netflix and Peacock. We are inching closer to it being revived by Netflix for another season. We do have the return of Euphoria in 8th, 573 million minutes for 22 episodes. I thought this was the finale, but nope, this one also has 2 more episodes to go. So it brought a few people back. I'm curious to see what happens with its finale, which arrived May 31st. So it'll be a couple weeks where we see those ratings. Our one new show is The First 48.
I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah. And guess what? I cracked the code on this one. According to Nielsen, it has 485 episodes for 563 million minutes viewed, credited to Deep Breath, Hulu, Netflix, Peacock, and Pluto TV.
Did you say 485 episodes?
Yes.
I had never heard of this when I saw the Nielsen charts.
It is a reality crime series, I presume, about missing persons. I guess that's where the title comes from, because the idea is if you don't find them in the first 48 hours, you may not. On May 13th, season 1, and I'm curious as to how many episodes that actually consists of. Oh, okay. Only 13 episodes. This show has been going on since 2004. It has
I was going to ask. It's got to be like that. Okay.
It has 24 seasons, according to Wikipedia. So only a few of those are on Netflix. The rest are on every other site, including Pluto, which you can watch for free. But that has to be why it's here. And amusingly credited to 4 different streaming services. That was an entertaining discovery for the week. We do have some stuff coming up. We have the finale of The Boys next week. Dutton Ranch may actually end up dominating over the next month as Tyler Sheridan rules everything. We still have La Brea inexplicably on top of this acquired chart. GOAT is starting out with 1 billion, is actually pretty good, so that may even jump next week. So maybe we're going to get GOAT 2. But yeah, I'd still rather talk about box office, but it was better than the last couple of ratings charts.
All right. Thanks, Tim. In our green lights and cancellations this week, the Canadian streaming service Crave has announced a reboot of The Littlest Hobo with Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg's Point Grey Pictures. And I know this means mostly something to Canadian people.
I started to say this might be the most Canadian thing we've ever discussed.
I'm pretty sure you must watch at least one episode before obtaining citizenship. This is an 80s series, if I remember correctly, about a dog. That's the littlest hobo. He doesn't have a name, who travels to different places and solves crimes and mysteries. It's not Scooby-Doo. It was a dog that just helps people out, like, you know, would pull Timmy from the well one episode and then helps solve a break-in the next episode. I genuinely never watched an episode. I felt it was like too pablum, too trite for me, but the fact that it's getting rebooted has a lot of Canadians very excited.
It does seem to have that effect, yes. Over on Prime Video, the excitement around a Stargate reboot may have been premature, as the project has been scrapped.
The reason they gave is amazing. They were afraid that too many Stargate fans would watch and not enough other people. Isn't that what you want, is a really strong target audience?
No, we want new people. We don't want to have the established audience show up.
This reminds me of when the fate of the Buffy reboot was being decided by someone who admitted he hated Buffy. I mean, like, what are we doing here?
Hulu has commissioned a pilot for a series based on The Cable Guy, with New Girl alums Jake Johnson and Damon Wayans Jr. set to star.
I'm really conflicted on this because I hated The Cable Guy. It's one of the worst movies I've ever seen. But I love Jake Johnson and Damon Wayans Jr. and would watch them in anything. So I guess I have to watch this.
I mean, hopefully it'll be, it'll have their goodness in it.
Are cable guys even a thing now?
Right?
That's a great question. No.
The Cable Guy always struck me as I remember getting it all the headlines back in the day because Jim Carrey got a record paycheck at the time, and it was very just anti-comedy. So I'm curious to see what happens here.
James Mangold's series based on the movie Copland has landed on Paramount.
So if you don't like The Cable Guy, maybe you like Copland.
Maybe.
That was actually a well-received movie at the time. Had actually Sylvester Stallone in a understated dramatic role. This feels like this is something that should have happened a long time ago.
Netflix's adaptation of the book Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is plowing ahead, with Anna Kendrick coming on board as director after 2 previous directors dropped out.
We will watch Anna Kendrick in anything, but I don't know about her as a director. We'll have to wait and see.
She had her directorial debut with Woman of the Hour on Netflix back in October. I suppose after 2 other directors dropped out, maybe this is a vote of confidence from Netflix in her abilities, and perhaps a sign that Netflix was very happy with the success of Woman of the Hour.
Variety has revealed that Stephen Knight's House of Guinness has been renewed for a 2nd season on Netflix.
It's unusual in that there was no actual announcement. It looks like they just happened to stumble across the news and they ran with it. Yeah, it's been several months since the first season of House of Guinness premiered. It may very well have been that Stephen Knight was committed to 2 seasons. And so, of course, there was always going to be a 2nd season. This is just an admission that it's happening.
And Widow's Bay has been renewed for a 2nd season on Apple TV. Sorry, David.
There is clearly a divide on this podcast about whether or not Widow's Bay is a great show or not. And David is on one side of that divide, and I believe Kim and I are on the other. That show is just hilarious. A true horror series that just also happens to be incredibly funny. The fact that it's gotten a 2nd season is a vote of confidence from Apple TV. Clearly, it's starting to garner some viral success.
Google the title and you'll get a joke.
Yeah, Apple TV certainly seems to think it's good enough for a 2nd season.
As always, we close it out with what's been keeping us busy over the last week. And, we haven't watched much, but we did watch something, and it was Among Us, the entire series. It was a shocking amount of fun. I didn't have high expectations for it, but it was funny. It was well written. It was aware of its silliness, and I warmly recommend it. It won't take you long to watch it. It's only, I think, 10 episodes long, and they're all about 12 minutes apiece, so you can blow through the entire series pretty quickly, and has a ridiculously fun voice cast. Just a good, silly story. So give it a shot.
Yeah, that's right. Among Us, the game that became exceedingly popular during the pandemic when people were locked at home and thus they were playing it online collectively, dropped an animated series on Paramount Plus this week, and we missed it. But I think that may simply be the nature of Paramount Plus and its terrible marketing. I only realized that the series had premiered because they made episode 1 available on YouTube, where I basically just live all day long. And yeah, having watched that first episode with Patton Oswalt doing the voices of one of the characters, I found it surprisingly entertaining, given that it's a franchise that is well past its prime.
Raul, how about you?
I could certainly tell you about the finale of Taskmaster that I watched earlier this week, or the latest episode of Widow's Bay, or how I caught all the Pokemon in Chicago. I can tell you about binging Celebrity Jeopardy All-Stars. Look, Mina Kimes, please stop. I'm married to my job. But instead, I'm going to tell you about the most amazing saga on YouTube. And it's all about Lego being sold in a store in Kaiser, Oregon, only about an hour from here. You may have heard about it. The first inkling you got may have been a picture on social media of a banner hanging in front of a shuttered Lego resale store telling you how that store had stolen Lego from an old man. I'm not going to get into the details as there's 1,000 videos out there right now telling you all the gory details. Honestly, it's not the story at the heart of this drama that's important, but rather the cottage industry that rose up around it. At first, it was just Lego YouTubers who were talking about it, but when a YouTube provocateur, and I hate these people so much, named Reckless Ben got involved, everything exploded. Since then, YouTuber Legal Eagle has made no less than 3 different videos about it. Phil DeFranco's daily news roundup on YouTube regularly starts with the latest updates on this case, and CoffeeZilla has contributed his impeccable investigative skills to get to the bottom of what's going on. While Reckless Ben has essentially been silenced through a series of legal maneuvers, his shenanigans have brought an incredible degree of attention to this matter, and what would surely have ended as an injustice is now front and center. This story is far from over, but what's clear now is that it won't be swept under the rug, especially with YouTubers like the civil rights lawyer now involved. It is just a spectacular thing to behold. It's incredible to watch these things unfold in real time online and in social media. This is one of those things where you see a little spark and you realize, oh my God, this is going to blow up. And it did. Yeah, if you're not on top of this stolen Legos saga, it is incredible and also entertaining, but also very sad because of what's happened. But hopefully there will be a resolution at some point in the future.
Okay, Tim, what's been keeping you busy?
Several months ago, I talked about a game called Discounty. It's like a cozy little shop simulator. You have a store in a small town, and as you make more money and expand, the town actually starts to become very resentful of you because it turns out you're like expanding into like, I don't know, historical sites and revered properties in this little town, and you're just basically Walmart, barging your way in. It was fun, so I completed it and thought that was that, but they actually dropped a big update for it just this past week, which adds a new chapter to the story, so kind of an epilogue, and actually has more things to do, more items. You can just focus on, kitting out your store if you want, but I'm excited that this is actually given some new life into the game because it adds some interesting things and things that were just they were there in the original game, but I'm like, why is this here? What is this for? Hey, it has a purpose now. Cool. So that's very exciting. So I'm excited to dig into that. And I definitely do recommend this game if you pick it up on sale. Normally it's $20. It should go, cheaper than that on the big sales. It's a good little time, especially if you just enjoy managing your little shop and people bring you their items and you run them through the scanner and the cash register and all that. The nice little twist was like, rather than, fitting in, the town actually starts to hate you at one point until you fix all their problems.
Yeah, that's a very popular game amongst cozy gamers. So yeah,
okay.
Glad to hear it.
Cool.
And David.
What I have to say about Among Us, the whole thing was wild. We didn't actually cover that on What's New on Streaming because there was no announcement about it. And then just one night, Raul randomly says, hey, did you guys know that this is available on Paramount Plus? And 15 minutes later, I'd watched an episode. I didn't even think about it. I just reflexively pulled it up and watched it. Before I knew it, I'd watched 3 episodes. And then I stopped because I wanted Kim to catch up with me. And in the span of 2 days, we watched everything they had, which we probably could have done it in a couple hours if we'd sat through it straight. It's hysterical, and it reinforces what we're always saying. It makes so much difference when people get hired who play the video games, who understand what make the video games work, because there will be little snippets from the games that will just make you so happy. And then there'll be larger storylines that will honor the spirit of the game. And that's really all I'm looking for with these things. And Among Us is just perfect because the concept of the video game is so ludicrous. It really is. 9 crew members on a spaceship, one of them or 2 of them are aliens who are trying to kill the rest of them. And so you're just trying to suss out who the aliens are so that you can vent them. And sometimes you get it wrong and sometimes you get it right. And so we have both of those things in this show, and I freaking love that. I love that there's conversations, there's emergency meetings, there's everything you would find in a video game, and it just works. And Tim, you in particular You're going to love it. I promise you.
Yeah, I was like, how did we miss that? I'm like, wait, I don't remember talking about this. Where did this come from? And then you guys were talking about it this week. I was like, wait.
Yeah, it's just because they're terrible.
Paramount.
Yep, that's exactly right. Thank you for listening to Streaming Into the Void. Please consider subscribing wherever you listen to podcasts, and we welcome your feedback. Remember that we're on social media at Streaming Void and online at streamingvoid.com. If you like what you're hearing, please consider becoming a supporter on Patreon at patreon.com/streamingvoid. Be sure to watch for us again next week.